All right, so I think the stream thinking about things ready to go though. So hello everybody, Megan ZardX here, back at it again to give you all another very exciting podcast episode. That being my ZardCast episode 99. And man, oh man, first off, like look, we got to pause real quick. I said episode 99. It's hard to believe this is gonna be the 99th episode in terms. Well, once I rebooted it and called it my ZardCast podcast series. 99 strong episodes, which means in 2 weeks from now, we'll be on episode 100. That is hard to believe. And I got some plans for the episode 100. We'll talk about that here in a second, though. But, Steven, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Damn, time flies by quick.
Yeah, it sure does. So I was like, you know what? Um, the fact that we're approaching episode 100, I got some things planned. So here's a little gist of some things I have planned. And I'm still thinking this stuff actively on the fly, but as it stands now, this is what we're going to do. On in a couple of weeks from now, when it would be episode 100, we'll still air the podcast live from like the traditional 9 o'clock Central Standard Time or whatever, though. But a couple or a few hours earlier than that, I'm gonna have up we normally do like our NSO verses, and that rotates every other week. You'll get a bonus. I don't know what I will call it, but it'll be like a .5 version of it though. So it'll be me and Steven duking it out in one of the Mario Party games. I hadn't decided which one it will be yet, so that will be a little bit of a mystery for y'all to see whatever game it happened to be though. But we're gonna see if I can pick up a couple of my other dudes up in there though. So I'll premiere that a couple or a few hours before the podcast airs, and then there'll be a little bit of downtime. Then we'll go straight up into the ZarCast podcast though. So Sunday should get filled up quite a bit, and then I might go about reminiscing, talk about the origins of the podcast, all of that stuff. I'm gonna make a whole fanfare out of it because I'm only gonna have one ZarCast episode 100 once. So Steven, we got to do it right, man. We got to do it right. I don't know. I might have guests. Who's to say though? But all that sound good to you, Steven?
Yeah.
All righty. Well, that's the plans for it though. So stay tuned for all of that, and I'll keep everybody updated and posted in terms of the Zarcast Twitter though. But in terms of what we're gonna have to go through and talk about tonight, a good decent chunk of stuff in the pop culture segment. Like we got to talk about some of the personal highlights, obviously that are coming from the Super Bowl and stuff. I got to say a little bit of stuff about my Eagles team over there. I got to say a little things about them, though. But then we got to talk about the commercials, the fun stuff. The halftime show that got mean to there and back. Like, oh, shoot. And everything else in between. And then also we got some Marvel update stuff because we did manage to get the release of Captain America Brave New World. So I want to talk about that. We also got that trailer for Fantastic Four. So a lot of stuff in the Marvel realm going on. And then in terms of the video game related stuff, we had that recent state of play, which spoiler alert, I felt like was hot garbage, low key. And then we have an update for Fantasy Life I. We got to talk about all of that. We had the Nintendo fiscal reports coming in though, and then a few other things we'll kind of mention here and there though. But that's kind of the general spill of everything you're going to be able to expect from us tonight though. And yes, Sonic, I see you up in there. No, we're not going to be talking about Fortnite because it's not the Fortnite channel. All right. I mean, every now and then Steven will tell me if something's cool coming up though, but I don't know about this new latest season. Like, is there anything good coming up on it, Steven?
Yeah, we'll sneak a little bit of Fortnite in. There's a rumor that they're going to be adding Yakuza to the game, Kiryu and Majima specifically.
Okay, well, I guess that's kind of
Um,
cool.
there's also, well, it's confirmed actually. Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat is going to be in the next Battle Pass, which
Okay,
I'm kind of
one
excited to
that
get
one
that
sounds
too.
that one's actually a little bit cooler. I actually like him a little bit. So you know what that's cool right there.
Yeah, they're doing like a whole. They're doing like a. The next season comes out, I think, on the 21st. It's like a whole like crime and heist based season.
Hmm.
So I guess Sub Zero is a little of a random pick, but he's going to be in the Battle Pass, and then I guess Scorpion's going to come later.
Hmm.
I'm definitely getting those ones.
All right,
But
not
yeah,
not too shabby.
Fortnite's plain old Fortnite.
All righty, well there you go, Sonic. There's your little spill right there. All right, I hope you're happy, man. Alrighty. Well, without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into that pop culture segment. Alrighty, so first we got to talk about all things that were relating with the Super Bowl. Look, I know not everybody's like the strongest sports fan or whatever, but I always feel like, at least if you're here in America, you're always able to pull something out of it. Maybe you're a halftime show person, maybe you like the commercials or stuff like that. You usually get a good chunk of like movie trailers or something like that, stuff that's like brand new, or you get cool looks at it though. So I feel like there's always something a little bit for everybody, even if you're not the biggest sports fan though. So let's just get the general sports out of the way though, because obviously this was like what the Eagles versus the Chiefs. They happened to square off like a couple of years ago. Chiefs managed to win. They were trying to go for this stinking three-peat, and I felt like everybody and their mama was going against going against the Chiefs. They did not want them to do that stupid three-peat or whatever though. So a lot of people were pulling for the Eagles though. That's my dad's team. So obviously that's who I was going for as well though. And man, once they managed to beat the snot out of them because they could barely score any points in the first half. Did you see all those memes that popped up online on Twitter? Like, I know I retweeted some of them, Steven. Like, I know you had to see some of them.
I don't think I did actually.
Really? I mean,
Yeah.
it was kind of funny because of the fact that like whether it be memes or just like actual statements or whatever. Like there was like one post, like people just drowning them out. Oh, what was it? CBS. I think it was CBS football or whatever. Though. They have like an official Twitter account or something like that. And they did like a scene where it was like the Eagles or it was like the Chiefs being represented by Majin Buu. You might not know that character yet in Dragon Ball Z or whatever though. But they slapped the Chiefs logo on the dude's face or whatever though, and they just show him like beating up on against Vegeta, who was repping another NFL team. And then you had Goku over here like throwing a spirit bomb up on him or whatever. Though. So I was like, I wasn't expecting memes like that from official football sites incorporating other things with pop culture, like with Dragon Ball or whatever, stuff like that, or the fact that like Walmart literally came out on their own Twitter account and said, "Hey, look, we got a lot of people trying to do returns over in Kansas City, like we can't handle all y'all." I was like, "What on earth?" Like everybody was roasting these people. I was like, "Gosh, dang!" But overall, the game was it was pretty nice. It was pretty entertaining. I mean, outside of the fact of them getting blown out, it wasn't like an extreme amount of competition though. But that was pretty much it in terms of the game. So you already kind of knew who the winners were just going into halftime. Now, speaking of halftime, you at least saw the halftime show, right, Steven?
That was the Kendrick Lamar thing, right?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Jesus Christ. That's the only thing I actually kind of got entertained by. Because, like, I don't really watch sports, obviously. But, like, a very, very interesting choice, honestly, to play.
Man,
It was funny.
I knew something was gonna go down when the second. I'm trying to remember the exact wording that he managed to say. He said something about you have something about good time, but the wrong person. And I was like, oh shoot, I don't know what this man's about to
Doesn't
speak and drop with his lyrics. I was like, bro,
doesn't he say Drake's name? Like, he actually says his goddamn name
yeah,
at
no,
one point.
yeah, it's like one scene's like say Drake, and then something, 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 something after that. Like he looked in the camera, smiled, and everything when he said "Say Drake." I was like, "Oh
I
gosh."
Yeah, Drake is like so fucking mad. Probably, I would be if I was Drake in that situation. I don't know what I would do.
Mm.
Being humiliated basically in front of how many people?
Yeah, no. I mean, he that man got bad roasted. I mean, maybe
But it was
rightfully
funny.
for the some of the right reasons, but like, gosh, dang. Oh man, I know that dude. If he was watching this show at the halftime show at his own place, I know he cut the TV screen off. He's like, "Oh
He,
heck no."
he probably was, and that was really funny. I bet. I could just imagine in my head like him watching it and like smashing his TV.
Yeah, no, I bet you he was though, because it was a really bad roast, and that got mean to there and back on Twitter as well. And I was like, man,
Oh
this dude
yeah,
can't catch a break.
I seen the stuff about that. I seen the whole crowd chanting A minor.
Which is a clever play on his words, with the
It's
songs and
funny.
stuff. I was like, "Oh
It,
gosh."
it's well, obviously the context behind it isn't funny, but like the line itself is funny.
Yeah. Ugh, man.
Basically, yeah, cool halftime show. I know they did some of his other songs as well.
Yeah, yeah, they did some other ones as well though. So it was overall, I thought it was a pretty good halftime show. If you're not necessarily a rap fan, it's not necessarily like your Bruno Mars or your Beyonce halftime shows or whatever. Definitely ain't gonna be like one of them legendary Michael Jackson ones if you ever went back and watched that one. But I still think it was a really good halftime show, and I got a lot out of it. That was pretty good. Oh, last thing, uh, shoot, it was almost about to slip my mind real quick though, but Samuel L. Jackson playing Uncle Sam, or not Uncle, was it is it Uncle Sam? Yeah, Uncle Sam in like the US or whatever though. I was like, dang, I was laughing. I was like, it's gonna be one of them kind of shows.
Samuel L. Jackson is good, basically whatever he's doing.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty smart little pick right there. They were just kind of making fun of like, general US people with all of the money and the higher ups and all of that stuff though. But that was all good fun poking and all of that stuff. So that was it for the game and the halftime show. And then lastly, you had all of the different Super Bowl commercials. Which have you seen a good chunk of these? Because my only pet peeve with these things, Steven, is the fact that they drop them out on YouTube like a week early before they even put them in the halftime spot. And I think they said it during the game. It's like it costs like almost $8 million for a 30-second spot. I was like, you gotta. I would be crazy to air my Super Bowl commercial out early for free, knowing you're gonna pay all that money though. But was there any good ones that stood out to you?
For the commercials,
Yeah.
there was one where it's like I think it was a tennis commercial with Willem Dafoe, and it was kind of
Oh,
funny.
it was like the two older pairs, and they were like facing off against a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, he was very intently playing tennis. It was just funny to me.
Hmm.
I just can't not see Green Goblin playing
Oh
tennis.
yeah, because I was looking at him, I was like, dang, that dude's getting kind of old over here.
Well, yeah, he already looked kind of old in Spider-Man from 20 years ago. But hey, he's kicking. He's still doing a good job.
Yeah, he's
It's
doing
just
all right.
I personally know him most from playing Green Goblin, so that's all I see. But like he's good in anything. Besides that, I'll be honest with you, there wasn't a lot of interesting commercials this year. There was a Muppets one. I
That
liked the
was
Muppets one.
Oh, wasn't well, no, I think the Muppets no, I was about to mix 2 different commercials 'cause there was a Muppets one, and that one was good. But then I was also thinking about, like, there was one commercial where it had, like, all of these different food mascots, like the Pillsbury Doughboy or the Green Giant. Like, there was, like, one where they had, like, a whole bunch of them. I was like, "What the heck is going on over here?" Had the stinking Kool-Aid ma my boy, the Kool-Aid Man up in there. I was like, "Oh, shoot, this is a 10 out of 10 commercial. You put the Kool-Aid Man in anything, and instantly it makes it that much better, though."
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that one was cool. I thought the Pringles one was kinda interesting. It was like the one with, like, the mustache flying off of people's faces and stuff. That one was kinda funny. Um, the Doritos commercials, you can't ever go wrong with that one, though. That one had, like, an alien up in it. I was like, "What?" I was scratching my head at first when I saw that one, though, but I thought that was pretty good. Um, the Mountain Dew one was kinda cool with the seals, like, just singing and stuff. And I was like, and what was it? One of the seals' faces had like one of it was like some dude's face up on there though. If you knew who he was, you knew him. But if not, you have to look him up. I thought that one was cool. And I think honestly, Steven, the best or my most favorite one was the one I think it was literally the first commercial as soon as the game start. I saw a blue blur running across the field, and I was like, "What the heck?" I thought it was almost real for a split second, though, and I was like, "What is this?" And then I saw him running around and stuff. I was like, "Gosh dang it, that's my boy Stitch over there." And I was like, they made a whole entire like a little commercial out of it where he was just like wreaking havoc all over the football field and stuff like that. They were trying to catch him in a trash can or whatever though. He didn't. He dug out, rode on like one of those little go-kart things or whatever though, smashed into the field goal post, and then picked up the
Well,
mic and then said his favorite catchphrase. I was like, "Oh shoot, that was actually kind of good."
I wonder if they actually destroyed a golf cart for that.
No, I highly doubt it though. I mean, I bet that was probably CGI as well. There's no
It
way.
probably was. It would have been really funny though if they did. That one was clever. That one was well good. It was good effects. Yeah.
No, yeah, it really was because they seamlessly went from the actual game to that commercial. So for a lot of people, they probably were thinking it was real for a split second, though. But that's good. I'm really looking forward to that movie. I'm probably going to see that movie in theaters. It's just weird because outside of a couple of teasers, we hadn't really gotten a official trailer for the movie yet. Like they've been kind of keeping that mess on the wraps. And I'm
Well,
like,
yeah.
dang it, this is like one of those movies where I'm like, look, I grew up on that franchise, whether it be the show, which they did, the show in the Disney Plus, not Disney Plus, Disney Channel back in the day. They did all of that plus the two different movies. Like this is one I would legit go and see in theaters. Like I do like Lion King too, but I was like, whatever on that. No, this one I'm gonna make my best effort to go see this.
Well, because I don't know, this movie probably would work a little bit better in live action, just a little bit better. I don't know. I still don't think it's really necessary. Like you can watch the original perfectly fine.
No, it's just the fact that we just hadn't gotten anything new since then. So
I
I'm like,
guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
It's just
imagine they're gonna tell like, well, it's gonna be somewhat similar, but obviously some different
I
story beats or whatever.
no. I think it's gonna be the exact same. You
You
want
think it's gonna
you
be
want my
1 to 1?
opinion?
Mm.
I think it's literally gonna be the exact same movie, but just in live action, which is kind of boring. But it's probably gonna
They
be
could
fine.
do so many different twists because like Stitch has all of it. Oh, I know this is a little bit down the a rabbit hole or whatever though. But like Stitch has so many different cousins between Jumba and all the different experiments he did. They could take this movie in a completely different way. Like keep the origin somewhat the same, but then throw the twist midway in the movie. Like it doesn't gotta be 1 to 1, and I won't be upset if it's not one to
Well,
one.
yeah. Here's the thing, though, as that would be interesting if it was actually a different movie, but all they've ever advertised this as is like a remake, which they've done how many live action remakes?
Mm,
It's probably just gonna be the original movie, which the original movie is good and all.
yeah. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm
Unless,
looking forward to that.
yeah, Stitch himself doesn't look that bad.
He looks pretty good, and they still got the same voice actors still doing him, so it feels natural. But I think outside of that, that's it for all coverage for the Super Bowl in terms of the game itself, the halftime show, and all of the different commercials. So I felt like we kind of lumped it all together quite well and quite nicely, though. So I think that's gonna basically do it for all of our standard basic pop culture stuff, though. But next, let's go ahead and jump straight up into that Marvel news. All right, Steven. We had a brand new movie and we had a brand new trailer. So we got to talk about both of these. So let's go ahead and talk about the trailer first. That way I can talk about the movie after that, though. So in terms of the trailer, yes, I'm referring to Fantastic Four. We finally managed to get our first good look at that movie. And it's been long, I mean long overdue to bring the Fantastic Four family over. Look, I know there's a couple of movies here and there in the past, and every time when someone mentions Fantastic Four, they always go like, those movies, they were okay, but they didn't represent the family that well. Like obviously you had, people like Silver Surfer, those enemies and stuff popping up in there though. But it's like it feels like Fantastic Four hasn't had that true representation done properly right. And now it's time for them to be brought into the MCU. And this tease, it didn't give you a whole bunch, but it did give you the look, the
Mm.
Fantastic Four family. and I think it did its job well with also having a little bit of teasers up in there. But how did this trailer make you feel, Steven?
I really do like the trailer. I think it showed just enough to kind of satisfy like the urge for some details, but also left it very open because it was a teaser trailer. It left it open enough for an actual trailer. You know, they didn't really show Galactus at all, or they they were very coy about like actually showing their powers. Like I'm pretty sure Mr. Fantastic doesn't stretch at all in the trailer.
No, no, they didn't.
So like yeah, we're obviously gonna get more scenes of them actually like superheroing. But I like the Fantastic Four. They're supposed to be a little more grounded, and they're supposed to be a family, and they're not just only a superhero team, which I think is conveyed pretty well with this trailer having a lot of moments where they're just hanging out. I really like just I think the casting was is pretty good all around, except for I think Mr. Fantastic with Pedro Pascal is a little weird, but it will be fine.
No, I think it'll be fine. And I
And
think
I think
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I see a lot of people ragging on the thing's design. He literally looks perfect. I don't know what else you would want.
Mm.
He
Oh, yeah.
looks like he looks like the thing from the comics. And they're always people are always raving about comic accurate designs. He looks fine.
You know what? Hold on. Okay, let's go ahead and bring up this elephant in the room. I hate it so much when I go online and any movie you watch nowadays doesn't have to be Marvel necessarily though, but that's just one of the things I happen to follow the most though. But it can be any movie. There's always somebody down there in them gosh dang comments saying like, "Oh, the CGI just doesn't look that good." I'm like, "Bro, I know you couldn't do any better up in there. Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
CGI can be a little bit spotty here and there though, but you can't tell me and look at the little thing I got on this little TV screen over here in my pocket right now and say that does not look good." Like I'm tired of people saying this mess though,
Hey,
acting like they
listen,
know better.
people are people are fucking stupid, okay? I followed a 2 hour tutorial to make a fucking donut in Blender. I'd like to see them make a rock monster.
I mean, because you got all of the little like lines and stuff. Like, good gracious, it looked
It's
perfectly
not
fine to me. And then even if you were to put a comic book straight up next to it, because I looked at some of them comments for the thing and stuff, or even if you want to go back to the cartoon days and stuff like that, like this still looks better.
well,
Let's
it's
keep it
just
point blank.
yeah, it's an extremely complicated thing because you also have to account for lighting and the lighting and everything is a very important part to making it actually look like it's there. And he does look like he's there. They also had a practical suit on set that the actor used. So yeah, like they made it like real. It's not like it was just all CGI. He actually wore a big suit. And then not even talking about just him. I think all of the other characters also look fine. And the suit is I kind of like it. It's nice and colorful. It's simple and it's classic.
Yeah, so I don't think you can go wrong with the thing, and I think all the rest of the family members between Human Torch, Invisible Woman, and Mr. Fantastic, I think all of them look good. So I don't have any kind of qualms with the rest of this. And I feel like Fantastic Four is being brought in at just the right point because we did get the conclusion of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which that was probably our closest in terms of like a somewhat family. It wasn't like a pure family, but the closest thing that we had like a superhero family there is. Technically, there is Internals. I hate that movie. We ain't gonna talk about that mess though. That was whack, and they split the group up in half at the end of the movie anyway though. But regardless, I think this is gonna fill in the nice void that a lot of people might have that was really cool with the Guardians and then roll into the Fantastic Four. So I think that the timing on that I think is gonna be solid.
They have a very real chance to finally strike a real hit since Endgame.
Oh
And
yeah, because
I think they need it. I think they need some kind of big hit and like another household name because Fantastic Four looks like it could be that. You have a story, but you have a very interesting story about family with some color, with very colorful designs and interesting setting, and it's actually going to be leading into the future of the MCU in a big way. Like this could be it, and I'm excited for this movie more than anything else right now.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be in for a good time on this one. This one comes out in dang, no, July. I think it comes out in July. So we don't have to wait too much longer up on this thing though. But I think we're in for a really good solid time. In terms of like I guess major antagonists, I think Galactus will be the big one. Who's to know if we're gonna have like a somewhat smaller one? And yes, Steven, you can't refer to what you're thinking you probably would have mentioned based upon what Marvel might have linked to some potential comments or and slash or the casting. So we're not gonna bring that up, even though I know you brought it up to me, which is fine, but I ain't gonna bring it up for nobody else in case they don't want to get spoiled. Some people just ain't in the know like that. But if you're really a moviegoer, you can do some digging up on this and kind of figure some things out. But at least for me, that kind of ruins the movie a little bit, though. But we'll leave it at that. Was there anything else
I'm
you wanted to
sure,
say?
I'm sure that that thing that you're talking about will be in the second trailer.
Maybe. I don't know. They were even holding out on some stuff in Captain America, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. But I don't know. They might hold some things out. Who's to say?
We'll see, but they did specifically post that thing recommending certain comics, and that character is on the one of them. That's all I'll say.
Okay. All right, so overall, not a bad first look for Fantastic Four, and we're going to see that in opening weekend or whatever. Though we'll talk about that movie whenever it comes out as well. So good stuff, Marvel. Good stuff. And then the last thing Marvel related stuff we'll talk about is the Captain America: Brave New World movie because you, Steven, haven't seen it yet. I already had, and you said you're going to see it maybe next weekend. Is that what you last told me?
I might go see it this weekend coming up. I
Okay.
gotta see.
Okay. So, like all things, when I talk about a Marvel movie I watch, it's the non-spoilerly aspect of it, though. But I would say when I was sitting down and watching this movie, I actually enjoyed Marvel being a little bit more down to earth, like just having a traditional Marvel movie. This felt like a movie that you could have picked out like during the middle of the Infinity Saga, everything from phase one, two, and three. It felt very traditional in that sense. I also will say this. Yes, some of y'all might have looked at them reviews from like critics and stuff like off of Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. I think currently right now it's sitting somewhere in the range between a 50 or a 55 or whatever though. And to all those critics, I will go ahead and say this. I don't think any of them have any understanding or love for like the Incredible Hulk movie because I think the more you understand that movie and General Ross, because everybody and their mama knows that that dude's up in this movie. The more you understand that and have a foundation built upon that, the more you're actually able to walk away within this movie. That and I guess also maybe Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Those are two of the most important things. You can kind of fill in the void with everything else you might have been watching with Marvel movies here and there, though. But I say in order to get your full fulfillment, Incredible Hulk, and the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. And then that will set you up pretty well for this movie right here. And honestly, if I were to give it like a score out of 10, I think it's sitting somewhere between a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. That's where I kind of ranked it at. And in comparison to the other Captain America movies, I would slate it in between Captain America 1 and Captain America 2. So I think 2 and 3 are like some of my like top 5 Marvel movies, but I'm not really a big fan of the very first Captain America one, but I think this movie did better than the very first one of that.
Yeah,
And that's
well,
kind of where I rank everything.
the first Captain America movie served its purpose, and I really love the beginning of the movie. I just think like the third act of the movie with all the action isn't really all that great.
Yeah.
It's not really some of the best MCU action, obviously, and I don't think Red Skull's really all that interesting. But the second Captain America movie is real, not only really good, but had a lot of drastic uh, effects on the MCU, just with Shield kind of falling apart.
No, I think yeah, no, Winter Soldier, that was like one of the best in terms of like just combat, the choreography and all of that stuff during the fights, or just like the major explosions or some of the stunts. I don't know who they got as stunt doubles for some of that mess though, but I think it was like best action oriented Marvel movie out there, point blank. Period. That's like one of the reasons why I still put that up as like a top 5 movie and stuff. Like between interactions of Cap and Bucky and all of that, though. That's what made that movie so great. But back on the side of Brave New World. I did like this the first time that we're having a new person take up the mantle as Captain America. And now look, while you had the Falcon over here who was operating as the Falcon superhero prior to Chris Evans doing the job for Captain America. Now that he's out of the picture, he's taking up that full role of Captain America. And you know what? I actually like this because you got to think this dude is kind of rocking a pseudo, say a half and half of a little bit of Captain America's perks, but not necessarily his powers, but also like a pseudo Iron Man, but not fully with like a full armor or suit or whatever though. But you got to think this is just a regular average old man who's just been in the gym working his muscles up. He's not a super soldier who took the serum and stuff like Captain America did, or like some of these other like rogue people that are out there on the street, or like some people that got associated with the military back in the day or something, or were part of experience. No, this is an average Joe dude who literally could be anybody else that's watching this movie right now, and it could be inspired to say, hey, you know what? Or I guess also people that are in the universe itself, where they can look at this dude and be like, you know what, Sam, I could easily be you. Like this dude put up a good fight against all the different adversaries he fought up in the movie, and then obviously against Red Hulk himself. I won't go too heavily up into Red Hulk stuff because I mean, if you put two and two together, you probably know exactly at what point at what point that plot point has happened in the movies. I kind of have to stray away from it though, but the action sequences of it, I still would say are really cool. Once again, those people that doggone CGI, like what the freak? Just lay off, man. I like the fights that was up in there. That's probably the best that you could do considering how much time you had left in the movie. I'm just saying though. Outside of that, I just thought it was a really solid movie. It's not like a gangbuster, but I did like the fact that how they portrayed Captain America taking up this new mantle with Sam up in this one, because like, he's not someone jacked up with a super soldier serum. He's not a white American. He's black. He's kind of representing a whole different audience right there though. So I think it's like a good nice melting pot, but also kind of proves to show that hey, as long as you got the heart for it, anybody can really kind of stand up to be Captain
Well,
America.
not anybody,
I
obviously.
said
As
almost
as
anybody, as
a
long as you had the heart
uh,
for it. You gotta listen to that
as
other
yeah,
half I
yes.
said, but yeah.
As the guy who said in the first Captain America movie, he wasn't looking for a super strong soldier. He was looking for a good person, first and foremost. The guy in the first Captain America
Yeah, yeah,
movie
yeah.
was looking for a good person, which is why Steve Rogers was the candidate. Well, Sam Wilson's definitely that, obviously. I do like Sam Wilson. He's been good ever since his first role. He was just a, nice guy. Like he was like working in a church, I think, or volunteering in a church in the first in Captain America 2. And he's like one of the first friends that Steve actually makes on the
Mhm.
outside of like the event, all the Avengers stuff. When all of the, when he wakes up. So yeah, like Sam Wilson himself, I do like, and he's probably like half the reason I would actually go see this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think he did his role as Captain America quite well. And I think based upon the reports or whatever though, like he's technically gonna be leading or spearheading the Avengers moving forward. Kind of like how it was like a dual role between Iron Man and Captain America within the Infinity Saga. Like it's gonna be purely on Sam's shoulders, at least with what's gonna lead up into Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. So I'm really looking forward to seeing like all the work he's gonna, because like what, this was his first shot at a movie. He had his Disney Plus series, and then we'll have to see what all he manages to pull off in those two Avengers movies. So I'm looking to see more of him on the big screen though. He's grown on me quite a bit. He's grown on me quite a bit. So I put him up there in terms of my personal favorite heroes. But I think outside of that, that's all I'm going to say about the movie. Because anything else I say about it will go into the spoiler territory of it, though. But was there anything else you wanted to ask or say? Anything, Steven?
No.
Alrighty then. Well, that's gonna basically do it in terms of all the different Marvel news, and that's gonna conclude up everything pop culture we have to say. So now, without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into the gaming news. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and talk about the PlayStation stuff. Let's just go ahead and lump up all of this mess because lately PlayStation has not been doing that well. We got to first talk about the whole entire PlayStation Network outage, which I know you saw. I know you saw this somewhere, whether it was like me mentioning it or you saw it up on Twitter or whatever, though. But I think it was like on a Friday, mid Friday, roughly before people would probably would have gotten off of work here in the U.S.
It
And
was
PlayStation.
it was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday right before people got out of work.
Yeah, and it's been down. It was down for almost 24 hours, or at least for some people, it was almost like a full 24 hours before everything was starting to work good again. It was like what, Saturday night or evening at like 6 o'clock Central Standard Time or whatever. That's when I noticed stuff started working again for the most part for almost everything though. And I was like, what on earth? It was so weird because like Sony didn't do a really good job in terms of like communicating that well, and I felt like you had to really dig on Twitter just for them for you to see any kind of response for them. No, that's kind of unheard of for something to go down for that long and didn't really have like a good response to it or anything like that.
Yeah,
Like,
I
yeah,
terrible communication, and I think they only gave people like 5 days of PS Plus.
yeah, it was like 5 days, and it's like, hey, we'll slap that on the end of everybody's stuff, and it's like we're sorry or something like that.
I guess like whoop de doo, but still, like I don't know. The fact that they were down for almost an entire day on a very, on a day where most people wanted to play games when they were off is kind of lame.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know.
also, what was it? It was also the same weekend as the Monster Hunter Wilds beta testing or whatever. So if you were trying to do that on PlayStation, good luck. You weren't doing it. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, there was a lot of funny stuff that kind of happened because of this. I just seen a lot of people complaining, "Oh my God, it's still down." A lot of people were worried it was going to turn into 2011 all over again. Do you remember in 2011, PS Plus, yeah, PS Plus was down for, I think, oh
I
yeah,
think
PlayStation. Everything.
it was almost down for a whole entire month, and it's because they
Yeah,
got hacked. And I was like,
yeah,
dang.
that was like disastrous. I could not imagine being a PlayStation fan then.
Especially not within today's time, Steven, because mind you, whenever this thing was going down, I was like, let's boot up my PlayStation. Let me see exactly what I had access to and what I didn't have access to. And immediately when you fire up the PlayStation, you're used to getting hit with a whole bunch of things like, oh, check out these DLCs, check out your trophies and stuff like that, or all your different achievements, and it will like recommend stuff like that, or you can see like what your friends are doing with all of that. The second PlayStation was down, it literally only popped up one thing and like one thing only. It was just literally like, hey, play the game if you can. And that was it. I was like, oh gosh, like the whole home screen was pretty barren. Obviously, you couldn't go up in there, you couldn't download anything from the PlayStation store. You couldn't buy anything. If you have it happened to be like a game that had to like let you check online to get into it, like for example, Gran Turismo 7, even though it's a single player game, you have to check in online before you could play it. You couldn't play games such as that though. So for like a lot of people, maybe they're like playing Call of Duty or whatever though. You can't even do that, man. So I was like, oh man, it was pretty bad. I mean, for me, it didn't really affect me that much, but I can only imagine for some other people.
Well, yeah, in the event of a month-long Nintendo outage, I'm sure people would be fine because you don't have to check in online to play their games, and a lot more single-player games exist.
Yeah, and I saw Sonic up in the comment. He was like, "Oh, but did you get your free Krispy Kreme donut?" It's kind of funny because it's like people are actually taking advantage of the fact that PlayStation was going PlayStation Plus was down for that long though. So yeah, Krispy Kreme was actually offering free donuts and stuff. And one of my other friends texted and messaged me and he was like, "Hey, are you gonna get this?" And I was like, "Bruh, if I had a Krispy Kreme that close to me, I would have gone up and got it though. But it literally would be 30 minutes to drive up north to get one and 30 minutes back for me to come back. It would have been an hour trip for just one single donut. I was like, I'm not burning all that gas to do it. But you know good and well, if there was like one closer to me, I probably would have done it.
Yeah, I don't think I have one nearby, but that was kind of cool, honestly.
Yeah, no, it was kind of cool though, but that was just it's just crazy to see this whole thing go down, and you see how much money people kind of put up in their ecosystems and stuff. So the fact that a lot of stuff in this newer digital age is starting to rely on you just having a constant internet connection, that just kind of goes to show it's like, dang, if you just lose the internet or something goes down or whatever, though, like how much do you truly have access to playing nowadays, though? Like even some of your games that you have physical, like if they had to download patches or whatever, though. So like imagine if you said, oh, I wanted to play Final Fantasy VII Remake or something like that, and then you stick the disc up in there and it's like, oh, we got to go to the server and fetch some other stuff to patch your game with. You couldn't do that mess while this thing was down. So even if you had some games physical, it's not like you really could have, gone back and did it if you happen to delete the game because you wanted to save space or have something else installed. So it's just some things that kind of keeping, floating in the back of your mind, really. But yeah, honestly, I don't know. This is a little shady, PlayStation. You need to fix your mess. And who knows? We don't even know if these jokers got hacked. They sure enough weren't saying anything else beyond this though. But was there anything else you wanted to iterate on?
Not really. I think it really was just them messing up and having some kind of outage that they couldn't fix for a while. I'm sure if it was a hacking, they would have said something. Probably would have had to say something.
Yeah. Or at least hopefully, because people got their cars and stuff associated with it. So no, they would have had to if that would have been the case though. But yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunate stuff. The only thing that really affected me with was gosh dang, I couldn't watch my Crunchyroll on a Saturday night without seeing a constant error message pop up. That's the most that affected me. I wasn't playing my PlayStation too heavily on that weekend though, but I don't know. It kind of sucked for people though, but at least you got 5 extra days, or technically it's 4 extra days beyond what you might have had if you happen to be subscribed to the service though. But yeah, that's it in terms of that breakdown with the network. So now let's go ahead and talk about that recent state of play that we managed to get on Wednesday. In which case, I already threw up a video on my channel just kind of giving my overall thoughts on it, though. And I heard some of your brief thoughts on this, Steven, though. But we might as well go ahead and just. I think I got a little mini list. I look that state of play, it was garbage. Let me go ahead and say it point blank. Period. The whole state of play, in a nutshell, was garbage. I think that's something that both me and Steven can both agree upon, though. However, there's some cool announcements up in here, to say the
I,
least. So we'll at least
I
highlight those.
I think I would just describe it as mid. Like there were games I cared about, but they didn't really show anything. Like I guess you start with a game you liked.
Okay. Let me go ahead and pull up this list here. So I think one thing that, well shoot, I was about to say one thing that wasn't even in the show, but it should have been up in the show. One thing I like was Team Sonic Racing Crossroads, or whatever that game is called. Look, because we got teased to it at the Game Awards just a couple of months ago, and now we finally got to see the game up in action. Like it looks like you will get the race on the course, one lap around. The second lap, you kind of go somewhere else in the Sonic universe, and then you come back to the track you started with for like the third lap. So I was looking at all of that, and I was like, oh, okay, that looks kind of cool. Then I spot Jet off in the background on like one of them hoverboards from like Sonic Riders. I was like, oh shoot, they're bringing that mess back. I don't know. That might be its own little mode. We didn't really get to see like a strong look in that trailer though, but
Well,
it looks promising. It looks actually
I
like a good Sonic game. I might actually get that being a racing game.
yeah, it could just be another type of it could just be another type of thing, obviously. Like another type of vehicle, I mean,
Yeah, it could be.
which is probably what it would be because we see it like alongside other vehicles.
Yeah, it was alongside some other ones though. It was like mostly everybody was driving cars, but they just had one of those suckers off to the side. But okay, go ahead and pick another game that you thought was interesting.
I think another game that I'm definitely getting is Shinobi Art of Vengeance. Looks really good.
That one had a really nice clean art style to it, and I was looking at that one, I was like, "Okay, that was on the positive side for me personally." Add a little bit of color, a little bit of vibrancy up in the state of play as a whole. So I thought that one was cool. I dig that one. If I had to pick another one, I would say, Onimusha: The Way of the Sword. That one actually looks really cool because I think we got teased in that, which honestly, look, I keep saying getting teased. Like this was literally like the Game Awards 1.5, if you want to call it that, because like you got teased so much stuff in that game in that presentation, but now we actually got to see some of these games get showed up a little bit more. But we got a little bit of gameplay for that game, and honestly, the action sequences and that look really cool. So I got my eye open on that game because I might have to get that one because Capcom they've been cooking lately.
Yeah, next game that obviously I was going to be very interested in, I was excited, was Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic. So I won't go too in depth. I know you don't play any of these games, but basically, the FNAF franchise is very big about the story and its timeline and everything. And most of the games take place between like the 1980s and like up until modern day. But this new game releasing, is the earliest game in the timeline at like 1979. So it's probably one of the most anticipated releases for the franchise. Just kind of seeing like what started everything, and even then, gameplay wise, it looks very interesting. I am hoping it's got some actual scary moments because the franchise isn't as scary as it used to be.
Was it
But
really
because
scared to begin with, though, Steven,
yeah,
or was it
yeah,
really?
it's really atmospheric. Is the what it's dependent on? Yeah, the first game had a very creepy atmosphere, and things weren't really moving around that much. So when you actually had something move, it was scary.
Hmm.
Only issue is that as they kept going on and things moved more and more of them, there was more voice acting in the games. Yeah, it got less scary. We'll see obviously what happens with that game, but I'm very excited for it. That comes out in June.
Hmm. Okay. I would say in terms of like a new game that was announced, or I think it was somewhat new, was Lost Soul Aside. And we got gameplay footage of that. That's like that one, if you remember, Steven, it was like this dude. It looked like basically like an action RPG or whatever though. But it was like a dude at one point was like running and he was like running almost completely upside down, like some kind of cool particle effects. Like visually it looked really cool and it seemed like it had the action to boot with it. So I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
that one actually looks kind of cool. And I think they said something along the lines of it was made by one dude. And I was like, wait, what?
yeah, it looked impressive and all, but I gotta admit, to me, it just looked so goddamn generic.
Hmm.
Obviously, like a game has a lot of work put into it, but it's just not my type of game.
Now hold on. Between that game and I didn't have this on my positive list, the one that featured the woman or whatever though. Like which one would you rather play between the two?
Well, obviously, both of those games are kind of blending in my mind, but probably the one you're talking about.
Okay, good. Because I looked at that one with the woman one, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's it. I don't know if that's it, coach, but I don't know.
But yeah, if we're talking about another game, there was a Warriors game that is a roguelite, which is
Warriors
interesting.
Abyss.
Yeah, that game kind of seems interesting. I might actually get it. I just personally don't care about like the Warriors franchise, except for like when it's like when it's like a Nintendo spin on it, like the actual characters and stuff. I don't necessarily care for, but the gameplay has always been fun to me.
Yeah, I think Sonic agrees with you on that. He mentioned it in the comments. So I was like, I'm not necessarily a big roguelike fan though, but it's interesting how I guess the Warriors series is taking that approach with at least this game in particular.
Yeah, I'm still hoping we eventually get like a Xenoblade Warriors or something. Um,
Hmm.
but that's the pipe dream. Maybe down the line eventually.
All right. And I
Um,
think
you have anything else?
I'm looking at the rest of the stuff. Oh, okay. this was obviously the big major highlight. We got to talk about this. Stinking Metal Gear Solid Delta. Look, okay, technically, yes, we already knew about this mess because technically this mess leaked off a PlayStation network prior to the state of play. So we all kind of knew we were expecting this stuff. But we officially got news that, hey, the release date is coming out in the second half of this year. They actually gave like a day and month. I can't remember off the top of my head though, but it's in the second half of this year. So we got
August.
that, yeah, August. So we got that finally confirmed, and all of the footage and stuff between the gameplay and stuff. It looks really nice. It looks really clean. And I'm like, hey, we've been waiting. I think this game should have technically came out in 2024, but I felt like it got internally delayed. That this allowed the game to cook a little bit longer though. But I'm glad we're finally gonna be able to sit down and play Metal Gear Solid Delta. So I was like, I think out of everything that was shown in this state of play, that's like my only guaranteed game I'll know I'll pick up. The only guaranteed game 100%.
Yeah, there's just a lot of there's a lot of smaller games that I was interested in this, but like not a ton of big games. The game that they ended it with, which they didn't even show gameplay, so I don't know. But Housemark, the people behind Returnal, are developing a new game called Saros, which they've said is going to be the same gameplay style as Returnal, so a roguelike third-person like shooter. And do like Returnal a lot. Returnal was pretty fun, and I'm always a sucker for roguelikes. So I'm definitely gonna keep my eye on Saros, but like I don't know, kind of crazy that their big 2025 showcase to start the year has a game from 2026 as the main thing.
And that's the other thing too. Is like we don't know if this is first half of 2026. It could be the second half of 2026. So it's like if it were the second half of 2026, that's like a year and a half from now, which is like what the heck?
Yeah, and then really the only other things that I guess they showed off that were new that we didn't know about beforehand was the Digimon game, which I know people that care about Digimon are excited about that. It's not that there wasn't cool announcements in this state of play, it's that the pacing is terrible. Like
Well,
you have some cool announcements at the beginning. You like basically have nothing throughout the entire middle of the show with like one cool announcement spread in the middle. For me, that was FNAF. And then I don't know, you end with a game that we see nothing about. They're just way too comfortable showing us movies and oh, gameplay coming soon, or there's no gameplay whatsoever even shown. And I don't like when they do that.
I will say this in terms of the pacing. I thought the pacing was actually good. Now, hear me out fully. Good in the sense that you never stayed on one thing for too long. Like everything felt like it had its proper timing. It's just more so the fact of what was there in those spots, or could things have been
Yeah, I think
rearranged somewhat though? But in terms of like the actual pacing, in terms of like just purely for the aspect of time, I think this was like the best one they ever done. Granted, the content that's in those spots certainly weren't living up to what everybody was expecting, or at least for me personally.
Yeah, I think that game that you were talking about with the woman, kind of similar to Lost Soul or whatever,
Uh huh.
that game that game just took up like 3 whole minutes, and I don't know, it just didn't look interesting to me. There was just some games that took up way too much time, but yeah, they went through other stuff relatively quick. It
Yeah.
was just, in my opinion, they just allot the wrong time to certain games, and they should have showed gameplay more instead of showing a 3 minute long movie and then 30 seconds of gameplay.
Yeah, so at least that was like one of my major tidbits. But I think the other big thing, which everybody was pretty much saying unanimously across the board, was the fact that we didn't have outside of like what, and you usually tune into a state of play to watch what? It's typically big first party games that you can play on your shiny PS5. Just like the same way how you tune into Nintendo Directs. Why? To see what kind of brand new Nintendo game is going to be there. Or for Xbox developer directs, for whatever Xbox game that they happen to put out that they're going to claim that it's going to be this is an Xbox for wherever you want to play those games at. That's the reason why you tune into any one of these presentations. So if you're looking at it from that regard in terms of this state of play, you only had two first party announcements. One was actually a remaster for Days Gone, which, mind you, that was a game that came out on the PS4. It's not necessarily a bad version of it by the time you just plug it into your PS5 and just play that one. So is the remaster really necessary? I get it. They put a few quality of life stuff up in there though, added a few different additional modes and stuff. But it's not like it really desperately needed it compared to in comparison to like some games that you might have pulled from the PS3 or the PS2 or the PS1 generation. So I don't know. When you look at that, that's one of the first party games. Then you look at, well, what's the other first party game? The other one that you mentioned earlier, Ceros, which honestly, a lot of people they might like Returnal though. But what if you're someone like me, Steven, that don't like roguelites, and you looked at Returnal and that was not a game for you? Already you're looking at 2026 as a game that's going to come out and it's not going to do anything for you. And at the rate that PlayStation likes to put out their first party games, you're lucky at best to have two brand new ones, and you might have like two or three remasters or whatever, though. So already you can kind of tell that, well, 2026 might not necessarily be my year. Maybe. We don't know all the announcements, though, but at least that might be 50% of it right then and there.
Oh, yeah, even then, the remasters that they do are a lot less interesting because it's you can already play these games on PS5.
Yeah, and some of them actually already have slight enhancement for base
Well,
PS5
yeah,
or like the
like
playing the
Horizon.
PS4 game. Yeah, because like Horizon, as you mentioned, you had the basic PS4 version. If you plug that game up into a PS5, it's slightly enhanced, and now you got a remaster. So there's technically three different versions of Horizon that you can play, which is kind of crazy, but
It's
I
stupid.
digress.
Yeah, I don't get it. Either way, like State of Play was mid. Had some things I cared about, but that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I was expecting a little bit more out of this, even though I knew it was pretty bad. Like you saw that meme I sent you with the whole Transformers One video clip saying everybody you better clown up because we know we ain't getting nothing good for all y'all fans that want Sora and Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, y'all stay putting them clown noses on. Like that mess ain't happening anytime soon.
Yeah, like if Kingdom Hearts 4 was here, that would have been one thing, but it wasn't. So
No. So I don't know. Here's hoping we still have some good stuff to play in 2025 because some people are still questioning like what's coming out for this year. I still think there's a good chance Ghost of Yote will still come out. They're just probably going to show that at the state of play that will happen in the middle of the year and say, all right, this game comes out within like the next 3 to 4 months or something like that. Like I'm expecting it to be a fall release. Now, I think there's still room for one more first party game because as it stands now, it'll be Ghost of Yote and Death Stranding, I think, is also coming out this year. Death Stranding 2. So I think there's still room to put one more game up on there, though. Hopefully, we see some news from Insomniac Games. I feel like we're almost overdue for an update on Wolverine.
yeah, Wolverine might be this year, but that's like it. I don't think anything else they're doing would be.
Yeah, so I don't know. Overall, that was a pretty mid to bad state of play. What would you give it a letter grade, Steven?
I think calling it bad is crazy just because we did have some cool announcements. I'd say I would just give it like a B.
Oh, you're too generous, man. I gave this thing at best a C because it did
Alright,
have
fine,
some
B
announcements
minus.
that I like.
Fine,
I was
B
leaning
minus.
closer to D, but maybe it's a C. Yeah, it's just a kind of it is truly a middle of the road kind of presentation. I don't know. Yeah. All right, well, I think that's basically it in terms of all of our thoughts on that recent Sony state of play. Look, Sony, y'all need to do better and finally get this mess going though, because for a lot of people, it doesn't feel like the generation has got going for most people though, but I mean, hey, when you got these big ballooning budgets and we're just coming right off the heels of them going through and canceling all these live service games, I don't know. Y'all ain't looking too good. You ain't looking too hot. Look a little pale in the face. That's all I gotta say. All right, Steven. Well, let's move on to a little bit more positive stuff right now because we did manage to get an actual confirmation of a release date for a game that you were really looking forward to from Level 5. And yes, that is Fantasy Life I, the girl who steals time.
Fucking finally.
Look, I guess this game was supposed to come out last year, but they delayed it. and I was like, "Why in the world are they still delaying this mess?" And I think
They
we finally figured out the reason why they did that, because it's not just coming out to the Switch, but gosh dang it, this thing is coming out to everything: PC, PlayStation, Xbox, everything.
Hey, I'm fine with that only because apparently what you said it has crossplay. I heard you say the other day.
Yeah, it has crossplay and cross save.
Good. I'm fine with them delaying it as much as they did then. As long as it's a good game, it better be just as good as 3DS Fantasy Life and have just as much content. Because Fantasy Life, it just had so many small things, so many things you could do, so many different jobs that you could just get lost in. It
Hmm.
was really fun.
Now, in terms of those jobs, because I don't know how many you had in the 3DS one, but when I was watching the trailer for this new one, they said there's up to like 14 different jobs. I know, like, you can be a farmer, or you can be someone that really likes to go through and explore dungeons, and the list kind of goes on and on and on. Like, what do
Yeah.
you mean? How deep can you go with like one of the jobs? Like, let's say if I just bring an example, like a farmer or whatever.
Well, because each job has its own mini games, its own items, its own experience to level up, all of associated with it. And
Hmm.
getting those skills could be useful for doing other things in the game. So you could just spend some time, like doing farming stuff, and then you could just take a break and then go do chop down trees or fish or this and that. Fantasy Life is a very chill game, but it's still got its RPG mechanics mixed in there.
Okay.
I like Fantasy Life a lot. I would say, definitely try this game. Definitely try this game out. I will be buying this game no matter what because Fantasy Life. I don't know. Fantasy Life on 3DS was just that good to me.
Now, I'm hearing good stuff from you, and even when I was going through and watching this trailer, I was like, you know what? I feel like it's taken some of the best elements, not all the elements, but some of the best elements from other games, such as I noticed from like Minecraft, or some things I noticed from Dragon Quest Builders 2, or some other things that I guess, like, what, for people that really like Stardew Valley is like, and then also even some stuff from like Animal Crossing. I feel like it's taken some of the best aspects from each one of those games that I kinda like, but I never really went, like, super deep up in all of them. Well, I guess the deepest would be, Dragon Quest Builders 2 and Minecraft, though. But it seems like it's taking all the right stuff I like and throwing them all in the game, and you're still, from what you were describing, still having RPG elements, which, if you're still able to have the RPG elements, but then also have all of this stuff from Slice of Life, that at least keeps me motivated, and there might be a general story or whatever, though, but you're just kinda slowly progressing towards it or whatever. I think that's just enough for me to kinda keep actively coming back to this game, and then I think plus the fact that you're able to play this game online with up to 4 different people. So that way I could play the game with you ideally, and I think Yoshi's also getting it as well.
Yeah, it having crossplay and cross save definitely helps.
Yeah, so I was thinking, I was like, "Well, what system do I get this on?" Because now that it's coming out on anything, I could get it on PC, I could get it on Switch, or I could get it
Uh,
on PS5. But then I started thinking, I was like,
Wait,
"Hmm."
simple, very simple. Wait for Digital Foundry. See how this game looks and plays on Switch.
And
Because
that's the
if it plays fine, if it plays at 60 FPS, maybe I'll get it on Switch instead of PC. I'll see.
And that's the other thing though too, is because even if you bought it on Switch via backwards compatibility, you'll still be able to roll over and play that thing on Switch too, which might make the game look even that much better. So I'm also thinking about it from that aspect. So I think, because no matter which way, well, I don't know exactly which way, but because of the online elements, because I know I always will want to play this game online with you potentially, that leans me closer to staying on Switch or on PC. PC being free, I'll always have my NSO. I won't know if I'll always have my PlayStation Plus active, so that's why I'm probably gonna lean on either Switch or PC. I think it's gonna be Switch, because I think that's just a good handheld console experience, and it'll just be super easy to go back and forth. But yeah, outside of that, I'm liking everything I'm seeing up in the game, and they said the game comes out in May. Am I still right on that? I think it was May.
Yes, it is May 11th, I think.
Okay, so closer on the front end of the month versus the back end. So that's not too bad. Hmm. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
so
not horrible.
yeah, so we don't have to wait too long on this. Now, I guess the only other unfortunate thing, which I've seen some people say some things about this online as well, is the fact that there's not going to be a physical version of the game for us over here in the West, which I know there's some stricklers out there that are like, look, I'm not going to ever buy a video game unless it's a physical version because I don't believe in buying games digital. All right, fine, whatever though. But for those that were kind of interested in like having a physical copy to add to their collection, because maybe there's someone like you, Steven, who love to play the game on your 3DS or whatever, or you're just a fan of the series, if you want to have the game physical, you're going to have to import a copy over from Japan. It will play, the English version stuff on the cartridge, so that will be fine once you stick it in your Switch, though. But yeah, if you're looking to get this physical, like that's the only way you're going to have to do it. No
Yeah, I'd
physical
have
copies
to
coming
see.
in the West.
We'll see, honestly. Probably just gonna get it on something else, or just gonna get digital for Switch.
I think I'm just gonna get digital because with it being like one of those games you might just want to pick up and play just really quick, real easy. I think that would kind of suit it better just to have the game digital anyway. It would have been nice just to have it as like a good physical game though. Don't get me wrong. But at the same point, I'm like, ah, man, if it's like a game like a Minecraft where it's like you never know when I might notice you or a couple other dudes online, I might just want to scroll over to the app and just boot it up and just instantly hop in. So I'm gonna be fine with it getting it digital because this is like my first introduction to this series. I hadn't really played any games before this though, so I don't have a strong affinity towards playing fantasy life though. So I think it's gonna be okay for me personally.
Yeah, definitely. Hope you enjoy it.
Mm. Wait, is there a job up in the thing or based on like the previous versions where it's like you had your typical average like sword fighter dude or whatever? I don't know what job that would be classified as,
There,
but I feel like there
there was
was.
there was definitely a more traditional kind of like RPG, like top-down RPG job. Yeah, let me check. Okay, there were 12 lives in the first game, and then 14. They're called lives. 12
Mhm.
lives in total, and 14 lives in Fantasy Life I. Um, including paladin, mercenary, hunter, magician, miner, woodcutter, angler, fisher, cook, blacksmith, carpenter, tailor, and alchemist. And then they added artist and farmer in the new one,
Artist and farmer. Okay. Hmm.
which
So yeah, we're
are
gonna
pretty
we're
cool.
hmm. So
But
basically
yeah,
like oh go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was just gonna say there are three different types, really. Though there's combat, gathering, and crafting. So yeah, combat, you have your paladin, mercenary, hunter, and magician.
Oh, okay. So basically, correct me if I'm wrong though, but like the vibe I'm kind of getting off of this game is basically like you going through and either collecting, getting resources and stuff to either help you make better food and stuff that could also help you when you're exploring dungeons or whatever, or stuff that will actually help improve your farmland or your house or whatever you're able to craft and do stuff within it,
Yeah, and then
but
there's
then
also
also
ranking up.
explore, getting money, ranking up, leveling up so you can defeat stronger enemies if you happen to stay on the exploration. Basically, it's like any of those any of those God, I don't know what genre you will call this though, but like any of those animes you watch nowadays where it's like somebody gets summoned in another world almost to the degree of that, but it's like you can kind of pick
Isekai,
any kind of isekai. There we go. I don't know why that was slipping from my mind. I know what that mess is though. But it's
I
basically like
know.
any
Yeah,
any of those characters you see in like any of those shows. Like you could be that dedicated crafter or whatever, or you could be the traditional person that goes through and explores or something like that, or you could be that farmer, or you could be that alchemist. Is I guess that's the kind of vibe I'm getting at. You can be a jack of all trades with all these different lives, or you can kind of specialize in just like one or a couple. Is that
yeah,
basically in a nutshell?
yes,
Okay.
and it's fun for that. It's very I like the game.
Hmm. Okay. And then how did multiplayer work on the 3DS? Like, was that a thing?
Yes, it was. It works exactly how you think it would.
Hmm. Okay. Alrighty. Well, I'm liking all the stuff on it though. So who's to say whenever the game finally comes out, we'll give our thoughts on it one more time as you know as the time gets a little closer and we actually go hands on with it though. But I'm looking forward to this regardless, and I like the fact that it is crossplay and cross save. So if you do happen to buy it on one console, you buy it on another, you can move everything over. So that's really nice and dandy right there. But I think that's gonna basically do it for the fantasy life I stuff. So we'll roll it over to the last topic of tonight in terms of gaming news. That being the Nintendo Switch fiscal reports. And Steven, it looks like we got a brand new amount of stuff. Oh, I have to send this little text out here. But it looks like we got a brand new updated list in terms of like top sellers, how many consoles have been selling up in there as well. So it seems like now the updated sales on the Nintendo Switch family systems is currently sitting at a little north of 150 million units, which that's nothing to
Yeah,
snuff of. That's only been two other systems, whether it be handheld or consoles, that ever did this before now.
and one of them is the DS, which I think is fucking cheating because
Well,
the DS it includes the DS Lite, DSi, DSi XL. So like and like yeah, I'm not saying that like the Switch doesn't have its multiple versions, but all of the versions of the Switch all play the same games. While there was like DSi exclusive stuff and DSi Wear and all that. Either
yeah,
way, obviously it's still nothing to scoff at, even if we include all that.
yeah, no, it truly isn't. So that kind of brings in the big question of, does the Switch have the legs? Does it have like one last good little burst up in there after PlayStation have shifted the goalposts once again? Because it was at 155. Imagine if they hadn't updated that and it was still sitting at 155. Everybody and their mama would have been like, "Oh yeah, Switch is about to be the best selling console of all time." Well, now they still got about a little more than 10 million, or it's technically like 9 point something million that they have to sell. Do you still think that Nintendo still has it in them to actually pass that record of the PS2?
I don't think it will pass the PS2 only because they just confirmed it sold 160 million apparently, so they do have 10 million more to go. And I definitely think the Switch sales are gonna slow down considerably. I don't know. There's a chance that by the end of the Switch's production, it might reach it. We'll see. Nintendo has obviously confirmed that they are still supporting Switch One, so that kind of helps. Like a lot of people are still gonna buy Switch Lights and stuff.
Yeah. Think there's a chance. I don't know. It really honestly depends on how strong do people bounce off of the Switch and try to kind of move over to the Switch too. Because I think it might be possible for them to get to that 160, but it's only going to be possible if they can manage to like do some sales up on the system. So like mark that standard switch from 300 down to like 250, almost 200, and mark the switch Lite from like 200 down to 150, maybe 100 or whatever though. I don't know if
Think
they'll
about
do
it
the
like
same
this.
thing with the Switch OLED because I don't think that one's as profitable when they sell that one if they were to cut the price off of that one. But at least do it with those two first systems I mentioned.
Alright. Think of it like this. Apparently, the last time that we had an update 3 months ago, it was at 146. Now it's at 150 only 3 months later. So even if it stays at this considerably slower pace, including an, holiday season, obviously it's gonna get Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4 still on base Switch. Oh, there's a chance that maybe in the next 2 years it will pass it.
Yeah, I think they will still support the Switch for at least one solid year. Like you might get some remasters or something like that. Like maybe they'll finally drop out a Wind Waker or a Twilight Princess HD or something. Small little games like that are like remasters that obviously you can play on both of the systems because it's a Switch game via backwards compatibility and all of that, where it kind of bows over time. Because even when I was looking at games that were when we're in that transition between like the Wii U and the Switch, or by that extension 3DS to the Switch, there was still like a good handful of games that were either releasing on like both 3DS and Switch, or was this it was just supporting on just the 3DS with its big install base. Like if you go back and look at it, I think in 2017 you had Fire Emblem Echoes. You had what was it? Fire Emblem Echoes, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and shoot, I think there was like one other one. I don't know why that one is slipping my mind right now though. You had Samus Returns. You had like a few games like that. Then you had like Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker that came out on like the 3DS and the Switch. And then you
Yeah.
also had games such as like Sushi Striker: The Way of Sushido that also came out on the 3DS and Switch. So if that's not, I mean, there's gonna be a little bit of a crossover, bleed over, but it's not gonna be like with any super major heavy hitters, with the exception
Well,
of
yeah.
maybe being Pokemon.
Well, yeah. Some of the ports and some of the smaller games will come to both. Whatever the next Fire Emblem or remake they do is, it's gonna come to Switch One. Obviously, most of their smaller titles, like that rumored remaster for Kirby Planet Robobot, they're gonna come to Switch One. And obviously, most indie games and stuff like that from other publishers, I'm sure, will still come to Switch One for a little while. But we're gonna start seeing, depending on how much of a success it is, we're gonna see some more games come only to Switch 2.
Yeah, so I was like, anything Monolith Soft they make, or anything from the developers that made the Mario Odyssey or Mario Odyssey series, big major titles like that, your Mario Kart 9 that we already got teased of, that stuff will be fully only exclusive to the Switch 2. There's no putting that as like a Switch 1 version. Nah, you got to find some reason to get people to move. Look, if they look at all the Mario Kart sales, there's no good way I will put that on the original Switch 1, because that'll be your big incentive moving from this point forward. Say, hey, you're gonna have to get our brand new system. Mario Kart's just that big of a system seller. But yeah, I think overall, I think it's still going to be possible for the Switch to get it. But like what you were saying, it's probably going to take 2 years during that transitional period for them to barely get up to that 160 marker and barely eclipse that. But yeah, I think that's it in terms of, well, everything we might want to say about system sales. And then there's also the side thought of, how well did everything sell in terms of, just software. So then we got to look at basically like the new top 10 list, which dang, I thought I had it up pulled up here though.
Obviously, Mario Kart's at the top, which I think I didn't check it. Is Mario Kart at 70 million yet?
I'm pretty sure it is. And I was trying to pull up my doggone it. I thought it had, okay, here we go. I got the top 10. Here we go, Steven. All right, so starting at number 10, we have, dang, this thing's never gonna get kicked out of 10. New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe at 18.06 million. I'm gonna
Jesus.
I'm gonna disregard the million at the end, because every one of these are gonna be million sellers and whatever though. And spot number 9, you have Super Mario Party coming in at 21.1. You have Zelda Tears of the Kingdom at 21.55. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, 26.38, but then right in front of it, Sword and Shield at 26.6. So that's like a point two something that's separating both of those. So Scarlet and Violet might actually eclipse Sword and Shield here fairly soon. We will see. Then you have Super Mario Odyssey coming in at 29.04. At spot number 4, you have Breath of the Wild at 32.62. Then at spot number 3, you have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 35.88. And then spot number 2, you have Animal Crossing New Horizon at 47.44. And then the king that will never be stopped, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, coming in at 67.35 million. So Steven hasn't quite hit 70, but gosh dang, when it's all said and done, it probably will hit 70.
Oh, it's definitely gonna hit 70, but oh, actually, I don't know because Mario Kart 9 is gonna steal a lot of this game's thunder, but like, I don't know. We'll see. It's not
Shoot,
like this.
there's still more time before Mario Kart 9 or even the Switch 2 is even fully announced. I mean,
Hey, if you include fucking 3D, if you include
was it
a
baseline Wii
Wii
U
U,
one?
yep, if you include a Wii U, the game is at 70.
Yeah.
Either way, though, it's insane. That's at least a, an almost 50, like 40% attach rate. Like 40% of people that have a Switch have Mario Kart, which is insane.
It's almost close to like every two people you see with a Switch, one person's bound to have it, and maybe one person doesn't. But
Which
that's
is for
wild.
and they hardly put this game on sale. They never put this game for anywhere under $40. So Nintendo is making so much goddamn money off of Mario Kart, and then Animal Crossing's still selling strong. I'm really surprised Smash Ultimate's third place. Like, I love Smash Ultimate, but it doesn't seem like the type of game that would sell all too crazy. But
What are you
it
talking
manages.
about with all of the different collaborations and putting
I know,
everybody
but just
and the whole entire
oh,
series up in there? No, man, there's a reason why that mess
but
sells so much.
if you think about like the gameplay of Smash, Smash isn't necessarily. It's kind of niche. Like the gameplay of Smash kind of is niche, all things considered, and like difficult for some people to understand.
But then you
Like
got to think about
anytime,
the Nintendo enthusiasts, and they're just
no,
all
I
playing it
know.
just for their favorite characters.
Yeah, of course. When it comes to core Nintendo fans, those are the people that are really, really enjoying Smash. While Animal Crossing and Mario Kart are up there for a very specific reason. Breath of the Wild getting like breaking past 30 million is cool. Mario Odyssey is about to be there. And I love that game. I'm fine. I think it's the best-selling 3D Mario.
Pretty sure it is.
And Jesus Christ, Pokemon sold that much? That's crazy.
Yeah,
You really better allocate some of that money to making these games look better. Jesus. They
yeah.
Legend ZA with how much time it's taken, which, we're going to find out more about Legend ZA by the next time we have a podcast. It's going to be a Pokemon Day.
Oh
So
yeah,
by the time we see Legend ZA, I swear to God, it better look decent at most.
yeah. Hopefully that will be the case. And then in terms of like other updates, in terms of games that release within like that released last year that we got some updates for, Mario and Luigi Brothership did manage to sell at least 1.4 million. Which when I was
Not
looking at,
horrible.
it's not horrible, but I don't think it's as good as like when you looked at Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door, or by extension, gosh, even the Super Mario RPG one. Like that sold the best out of all of them. But granted, it was the first one to come out of all three of them, so that might play a little bit of a factor.
It
Um,
definitely played a factor, and also the fact it released in November. Well, okay, well, Mario and Luigi also did. But like it being a remake of a classic game plus releasing like right before holiday season definitely helped it.
and then you have the Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom coming in at 3.91 million, which that's not too bad for at least a 2D Zelda one.
It's
And I'm thinking,
also a
hmm,
more experimental Zelda game.
I mean, yeah, and especially with it being like the first one that starred Zelda, it seemed like some people showed up. Didn't seem like everybody and their mama showed up though, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
It kind of flew under the radar, but this is one of those games that a couple years down the line people are going to look back on and like remember a little more. If it just kind of flew under the radar, but guess what? That's kind of what happens with these games later in the console's life.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. It's cause like people are like short term memory and stuff. They're looking at, oh, what's that brand new shiny thing? But then once like nostalgia or you just want to play something older or retro at that point, even if it might be 6 years in the future from now, 6 years looking back at the past, and they'll be like, oh, I actually missed out on this. Let me see what this is. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you can't play everything.
yeah. So that's not a bad number. That's kind of where I expected it. And then you had over here Super Mario Party Jamboree selling the most out of pretty much every game that sold last year, coming in at 5.6 million. In which that's crazy. That's almost 6 million in the span of, gosh, just only a few months. My gosh. I mean, I don't think you can do much better than that. I mean, granted, yes, it is a simple Mario Party game at the end of the day, but I think it's definitely up there in terms of like one of the best Mario. I thought I almost said Mario Kart for a second. It's definitely up there in terms of like one of the best Mario Party games that you can get. Superstars is like the next best one before this game came out though, but now that it's out, there's just so many different modes up in here. Obviously, you can play all these different boards online. It's not just like a few boards. Now you got like all the way up to six different boards on the map as well. So it's like you have a lot of diversity to do up in this game though. A lot of different mini games. So I can see why it was selling that well.
Yeah, no, especially for being the third Mario Party on the console, it's doing better than I thought.
Yeah. And I think this is tech. I feel like this is gonna be the last Mario Party game that we'll have on the console because they usually take about 3 years on average for them to put out. So 3 years from now, I think we'll just be fully in the Switch 2 generation. So then that will just be the first one for it though. So to have three Mario parties in, one console life is pretty good. Like it got close to the GameCube era, and GameCube had like four, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
And I think outside of that, that's it in terms of just like raw pure numbers. I'm trying to see if there's like anything else that might have been somewhat notable or whatever though. I guess there's some additional updated numbers as well for like some of these other Mario games, like Super Mario Brothers Wonder. You want to take a guess at how many copies have sold on that one now?
13 million, I think.
Nope, 15.51 million. It's
Doing
getting
better than I expected. Obviously, I'm glad.
yeah. Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door is firmly at 2.06 million.
Good.
Luigi's Mansion 2 is at 1.8, and
Yeah, it
then
makes sense. Luigi's Mansion 3 obviously sold a lot better just because of the time it released and also being a very nice visual tech demo.
slight correction on the Mario and Luigi Brothers ship. I said 1.4, it's actually 1.84 million. The dude I was
That's
getting
not
all of this stuff
yeah,
from made a
that's
slight
not
error.
as bad. Then yeah, it's very close to Thousand Year Door then.
Yeah. And I think the only other thing that I feel like is like pretty cool or pretty interesting to kind of notice is when you're looking at the active users on the system. Apparently, there's 130 million active users. Mind you, there's 150 million consoles that has been roughly sold. So it's like 130 out of the 150 is still active. That's some good, strong, healthy users. It's not like the Wii where it's like a lot of people just fell off at the last second. Like, no, these people are still actively playing their systems. They hadn't quite moved on. Yes, there's like a handful of them that have, but it's not. I mean, to have that many still strong when we're right about to roll into the Switch 2's life, those are some good healthy numbers. And I know Nintendo's probably looking at that data and it's like, how do we pull and pry them off of the Switch and get them interested in the Switch 2? It's good that the Nintendo interest is still there. It's just all right when the time's right. How do we get them to move over to this new system? They'll get people like us, Steven, on day one, but it's like how do you get some of those other people that you
It's
know
simple. You release successors, the games that they care about on their Switch. Which Mario Kart 9 is a good start. Release Mario Kart 8 has 60. What is it? What did we say? 67 million copies. Even if you get only even if you get only half of those people, that's still 30 something million going in wanting Switch 2s immediately.
hey, that might be one of the reasons why they're trying to stockpile and get a lot of stuff stored up because I don't know if this is like rumor. No, I don't know if it was quite rumor mill or a little bit somewhat official though. But it seems like Nintendo's going to be trying to gauge a lot of interest on what will be that April Nintendo Direct whenever it does come there. That's going to feature all the Switch 2 features and stuff in terms of the system and games itself, as well as the play test. And they're going to apparently try to gauge interest on that to kind of determine like how much do they need to try to actively put systems into like all these different retailers for people to pick up. I guess close to that first launch day window, maybe for the first few months or
Think
whatever.
about it like this. During the Switch's launch in 2017, it sold around 15 million units. But Nintendo is readying itself to shift at least 20 million Switch 2 units during that console's first year. So Nintendo themselves is gearing up for a bigger launch, which, with Mario Kart releasing close to launch, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a big major seller in it of itself. Between that and probably a new 3D Mario coming out within at least that first year, that's gonna be enough to
Well,
get a lot of people just to say,
well,
you know what, it's time to get the new thing.
3D Mario is probably going to be the holiday title at this rate, which fair enough.
Yeah.
Like, have Mario Kart release with the damn system. Have Metroid Prime 4 later in the summer. That Metroid Prime's like a perfect like July August type game. Uh you got your Legends VA in like September October. 3D Mario to kind of end the year late October/November. And I think that covers everything we already know about. And then like in the dead months, in like May or in June, you spread your ports and shit around. And that sounds like a good 2025 to me. We're very, very close to finding out what's happening with Switch 2. It feels like, it's already been a month. I think today it's been a month since Switch 2 was revealed. So we're already closer to the Switch 2 Direct than I thought.
Oh yeah, because basically, yeah, that's the thing I told you to keep in the back of your mind is like, hey, even though it's technically all the way out in April, it's literally the first or it's in the second day of April. For all sakes and purposes, you can view it as the end of March. If you view it as the end of March, you got like half of February left now, and then you just got to get through the month of March, and then you're there. That's it. So yeah, we don't have much longer, and I think literally, if you're looking at it by the weeks like we're almost on February 19th, and let me do a little math right here. 5, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we're almost when Wednesday hits, we'll be 6 weeks away. So that's not much
Yeah,
longer we have to go.
yeah. So we're not too far away. We will see, honestly. I'm very interested to see what Nintendo's got going on.
Yeah. So I think outside of that, that's all of the updated numbers that I wanted to kind of run through in terms of the fiscal report and stuff though. But honestly, that those are some pretty good, impressive numbers, all things considering with the system being how old is this thing now? 18, 19. It's literally about to be 8 years old and it's about to enter into its ninth year on the market when March comes around. That's wild to think right there. Good night. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it in terms of all of the fiscal reports, though. And looks like we actually got a little bit of time left, so we can finally run some of these other talking points that we've been kind of beating around the bush on a little bit more so now, though. But that's going to do it for the gaming news. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into what we've been playing. All righty, Steven. What have you been playing lately? Like, I felt like I've seen you do some stuff here and there, but like, what have you really been playing as of late?
It's it's a difficult question, really. I've been playing a decent amount of Rivals of Ether 2. I haven't really been playing a lot of Fortnite recently. I gotta be honest, I haven't been playing as much as I usually do. I've been kind of playing GameCube games because I did pick up my GameCube within the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So I've been
how's
going
that
back.
going now for you?
It's been fun. I've been playing Double Dash, which I bought. I have the Game Boy player, so I've been trying out Pokemon Emerald, Sonic Advance 2, got some other games. I'm definitely having fun with the GameCube. Right now, I'm just trying to unlock like King Boo and PD Piranha in Double Dash, which is gonna be difficult, but I'm gonna try my best.
Wait, so do you already have Toad and Toadette already unlocked? Because you should unlock
No, I
them.
don't. I,
Oh
I
gosh,
just I just unlocked Special Cup, which I'm gonna try out Special Cup soon.
I think if memory serves me right, I think you do something in Special Cup with one of the lower CCs, and I think that unlocks them. I can't remember.
Probably.
It's been a while since I've done all of that.
Yeah, no, I'll unlock everything slowly. I'm having fun with it though. I picked up Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2 the other day, which I have primary mastered, but playing this thing on a actual GameCube with all the settings, scan lines and all that, it feels so nice.
Hmm.
It just looks so crisp for a game that came out however long ago.
That's the thing that gets me is like you love that mess with scan lines. I was like, scan lines and stuff were okay when they
I
were
think it
required for you to have them. With some of the stuff with the 64, especially with old systems like NES or Super Nintendo.
I
I
would
grew up on the NES though, but having to forcefully put that mess up on the GameCube, I'm like, ah, no, I'm like, get that
I don't
mess
know.
off of there.
I think it looks a lot better with the scan lines and the line doubler than having like fuzzy visuals.
I don't know.
At least on my TV, it looks better personally.
I don't know. Mine
Um,
actually does fairly good. I'll say
yeah, and
that.
the colors look really nice as well.
Yeah. So that's your list so far. What was it? You said Metroid Prime, Double Dash.
Metroid Prime 2 as well. When I also have Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, I have Mario Party 6, I have Luigi's Mansion. All of the games are in pretty good condition, and I do have Wind Waker, but I don't have the box for it.
Oh, did that come when you bought the console off of eBay?
No, no,
Oh,
I bought Wind Waker separately. I just couldn't find the copy with the box for a good price. I'm gonna buy the
dang.
box eventually.
Okay. I was about to say, no, that's some good stuff. You're finally getting on that GameCube collecting like how I was, which at least for
Yeah.
me personally, what was the last no the last GameCube game I bought was Sonic Adventure 1 as of late, which I actually managed to go through and beat all of Sonic's route. Like that was one thing I was doing within the past 4 or 5 weeks or so. So now I just got to go through and like beat all of the other routes so I can finally, fight Chaos as like the final boss up in that game though. Cuz like
Yeah, it's a
Sonic Adventure
fun
1
game.
was the only one I hadn't beat. Like I beat SA2. That's a great game. Beat that several times over, but never managed to fully beat SA1. I can see all the charm and stuff up in it in terms of, like the traversal, the open world aspects. I can see why some people kind of like SA1 over SA2, but some of that jank, man, like oh man, some of that mess is rough.
Oh yeah, it's got jank, but SA2 has an equal amount of jank.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I've been playing SA2 for so much longer. Like I don't notice the jank in SA2 like I
You
do in SA1.
definitely
I
you
mean, there
definitely
is
overlook
some,
it.
but it's like I know exactly what to do when the jank pops up. And SA1 when I'm playing, I'm like, whoa, what the
Yeah.
freak? I
Well,
just completely
that
lost control.
that's because of how much you have played it. I feel like if you grew up with SA1, you could say the exact same thing. You could do that with any game, honestly.
Hmm.
If you grew up with a game, you're obviously more accustomed to dealing with its jank.
Yeah. So I mean, outside of that, which I'll play my GameCube stuff here and there though. I haven't been playing like a lot of brand new stuff. The only thing closer to new I've been playing has been oh, Tales of Arise, which honestly I need to pick that game up and keep progressing up in there. I like it. It literally feels like anime the game. That's basically the best way how to describe it. Look, I hadn't played a game with that much voice acting in it in a long old time. Like I felt like every little step that you make in the overworld, you can hit button on the side to hear, just hear like all your traveling companions banter, like we're going to and fro a destination or whatever though. So it's like, hey, if you want to dial it back, you can. But I never really experienced a game with so much voice acting where it's like, okay, it almost feels like too much. But I think that's kind of a good thing to have rather than just not having enough or barely any at all. But no, I've been playing a little bit of that, and then gosh, still been grinding out Splatoon 3. Still been putting a good time up in that though. But kind of like how you've been putting time into your GameCube, I've been putting a little time in my N64 because I've been going through and I've been getting a few different N64 games. I picked up Diddy Kong Racing and I also picked up Donkey Kong 64. And then the most recent one I managed to get my hands on was the Conker's Bad Fur Day. So I got all of those, and I was like, "Oh, thank goodness!" So I was like, "I'm mostly doing this in preparation of the Analog 3D when that finally comes out." We still hadn't heard no stinking word for in terms of an update from them yet. Look, we're halfway through February. Y'all said this stuff was supposed to ship in Q1, And if we're halfway through February, that means 50% of your window is gone. You only have the second half of February and all of March left. So time's ticking. Analog times is a ticking. Oh, and well, oh yeah, and there was like one more thing I wanted to mention was I also picked up like a couple of controllers, which I'll show you a picture of one of them, Steven, like the gold N64 controller. You saw that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got that, and I was like, man, that's a good pimpin' style controller right there. Like, man, there's just something about that classic gold color. Like, it just looks good. The stick on it's tight, so it's not like one of them loose things or whatever though. So I'm digging that. And then I was like looking up a bunch of other N64 stuff, like videos and stuff, because I just started really getting that itch. And apparently they had like those fantastic colors. So it was like an ice blue, a ash gray or something like that, or like jungle green or like the emerald green. Like they had like different colors like that for the 64s themselves as well as the controllers. And when I saw that ice blue one, I was like, okay, I'm not buying the ice blue 64, but I can get that ice blue controller. So I bought one of those as well. I'm still waiting for that to show up in the mail from eBay though, but we're about to get a whole bunch of snow here in the next like couple of days. So even though it says arriving by Wednesday, I probably ain't gonna get it until Friday or like early next week once all that snow defrost and all of that. I don't know. But yeah, I think as of late, that's all my gaming related stuff I've been doing. Have you been doing anything else beyond what you said it's Steven?
Not really, no.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, I think that's just about does in terms of what all we've been playing. And I could do that one last segment, but I'm actually getting a little tired over here. I might actually call it early in terms of like me going to bed for once, which that's rare for me to ever say though. But for once,
I get
Steven, we're
you.
actually gonna shut this mess down before the 2 hour marker though. So ha man, I never thought we would actually live to see that day though. Like my goodness. Usually whenever that mess kind of happens, it's because my throat's getting a little raspy or something, or I'm solo in this mess. Like my goodness.
I get you.
Alrighty, well, that's almost a full episode. My ZardCast episode 99. Just another casual reminder to everybody out there. We're gonna be celebrating. We're gonna be going big on episode 100. I don't know if I'm gonna do any giveaways. I'm kind of leaning on the fence whether or not I may or may not, though. So you don't know what I might throw out in that next episode 100 podcast, people. If I do a giveaway, the only person that can't get it is Steven, obviously. I'm sorry, man. You can't get it. You're part of the crew, so you can't get it. But
I
anybody
think
else,
I'll live. I think
oh,
I'll live.
oh, okay. But no, everybody else will be fair game up on that if I do decide to do it though. So you can look forward to the standard episode as well, and then also the bonus premiere I will do in terms of us playing some kind of Mario Party game. Don't know which one it will be, but it should be a fun day regardless though. So this is gonna be a big celebratory day though. So really look forward to all the shenanigans and whatnot in a couple of weeks from now. But that's gonna basically do it in terms of this episode though. So Steven, let the fine people know where they can find you at.
You can find me on twitter.com at Steven Jr. 1231, or you can find me on a collab channel I do with some friends on YouTube called Spaghetti Disco.
All right, Stephen. Well, once again, it's always a pleasure having you as my co-host on the pod. But that's gonna do it officially for my Zarcast episode 99, though. So if you really like this episode, make sure you're gonna hit that like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related. I feel like talking about and discussing. And if you're curious to want to become a channel member just to support the channel just a little bit more, I got a little join link at the bottom of the video or whatever. Though you can click on that if you want to join just to support a little bit more. If you have any audio listener and you happen to be watching this off of Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Music. You can listen to me in the car on any one of those. Feel free to hit the like button. Go ahead and leave a short review. Just let people know that we're just a couple of dudes that just love talking about pop culture stuff, gaming news, and everything else in between, Marvel included as well. But yeah, that's going to do it from our Zarcast episode 99. So remember, y'all, until the next podcast episode, that being the big 100, the big 100, the 100, whatever you want to call it. I'll see y'all later.